Sport requires effort, sweat and strong will, and Macron knows it. A leading global company with Italian DNA in the production and sale of sportswear, when Macron first entered the sports world in 1971, it was a small yet strong player. Since then, Macron has been growing at a very fast pace, supporting teams, sportsmen and women at all levels, working hard to supply them with the best technical products to help improve their performances. With over 4 million pieces of stock available in our Italian warehouse and an extensive range of on-field, off-field and free-time products, we cater for everyone from amateurs to professional sporting organisations, even referees. Ranked third most prominent football brand by the UEFA, Macron keeps expanding its presence worldwide, including Australia, where we are currently proud partners of Perth Glory, Macarthur FC, Port Adelaide and Parramatta Eels, and more to come. Work hard, play harder, Macron, your next teamwear partner. For more information, visit our website at www.macronvic.com.au or call us on 1800 Macron.
Looking for the best in authentic Maltese cuisine? Then you need to dine at Georgie's on Vista. Situated in the heart of Fraser Rise, you can't go wrong when it comes to family dining. We have a menu for mum and dad, one for the kids, and one for seniors. Everyone's taken care of. Don't miss our specialty nights. Tuesday night is Parma night, where you get to choose from not one, but 5 different Parmas. Wednesday night, kids eat free with every paying adult meal. Thursday night is Members Night, where members get the chance to win some great prizes. And Friday night, join us for happy hour between 5:30pm to 7:30pm. Jim, Johnny, Jack and their little brother Schooner are only $5 each. Looking to get an early start Friday afternoon for a punt? Our sports bar with TAB is open from 3pm Friday afternoons. To book your table, email info@georgiesonvista.com.au. Bring the family and come dine at Georgie's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, Plumpton.
Good evening and a very, very warm welcome to you wherever you may be. Thank you very much for tuning in to this extra special episode of the Football Out West show. It is going to be a massive, massive show tonight. Episode 78. So huge that we're actually commencing tonight's episode, or tonight's show, 15 minutes earlier. My name is Tonci Prusak. Thank you very much for joining us on what is going to be an epic episode of the Football Out West show, and he's my co-host who's going to be joining me as well as he does week in, week out. Big hello, big welcome to Craig Filer. Craig, how are you? And promises to be a massive show tonight yet again.
Good evening, Tonch. Good evening, listeners. Yes, quite a show we've got tonight, and obviously we made the decision to bring it forward 15 minutes so we could fit it all in, Tonch.
It's so big, we need an extra 15 minutes this week. And also joining us, as he does every week as well, the third member of our illustrious trio, Steve Curtin. Steve, thank you and welcome for joining us, and welcome on the show tonight. It's going to be a big one.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one. I got in early and got my hair cut in advance of tonight's show because I just knew it was going to be absolutely huge. And to all our regular viewers who are tuning in, a big hello. And if you're new to the program and joining tonight for some special information, well, welcome. And we hope we can maintain your attention and have you become a regular.
Yeah, Craig, let's get started straight away. Let's tell the viewers tonight. First of all, before we do say anything, a big shout out to our major sponsors. Our major sponsor for this year, George Cross Football Club. They have been amazing, and we keep on going about it. But George Cross Football Club have really supported us in a big way this year. and we thank them. And also to our episode sponsor tonight, Macron Victoria. They are going great guns with a few major clubs, not just in Australia, but worldwide, having jumped on the Macron bandwagon. And Craig, before we do talk about tonight's guests, Giacomo Carulli, our man from Macron this week, put something up on his social media page that once again, Macron is now has been named the third largest apparel sponsor in European football after, I think it's Adidas and Nike. Not bad company to have, isn't it?
No, it's very good. And look, if you've used Macron in the past, the quality is fantastic. Look, support him, support the business, locally owned. Obviously, all the stuff is manufactured in Italy. But now he's in the process of looking for new clubs for next year. So if you are interested in getting your kit supply for next year, get in touch.
Absolutely. A lot of the clubs now have started to turn their attention towards next year. And with a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, we're certainly hoping that next year is going to be the third time lucky where we're going to be able to have a full season. But with regards to next year, we may have some big news tonight. Craig, we've got some big guests. And who are our guests coming tonight and what are they going to be talking about?
Yeah, so first up, off the back of a lot of social media hype over the last sort of 48 hours regarding the United Football Clubs of Victoria's stance on promotion and relegation. Obviously, they sent a proposal into Football Federation a few weeks ago, which was talked over with Football Federation. I believe there was a committee meeting or board meeting on Thursday evening. We were hoping that a decision was going to be made on Friday, but it wasn't. But look, to tell us a little bit more about that will be the chairman of the United Football Clubs of Victoria, Zac Gruevski, who's going to come on very shortly to fill us in on what's happening there. And then straight after that, about 7:30, we'll have. I suppose he's a legend in Australian football, isn't he? Now Melbourne-based, the legend that is Gary Cole.
Yeah,
so
Gaz
awesome stories will be told this evening. If it's not, is it past 9 o'clock? And were we allowed to talk stuff? What Gary's going to talk about before 9 o'clock? Is there a watershed?
I think we can. That's going to be he's a man who just an NSL legend, a Socceroos legend. He was involved now with the Football Coaches Australia, was the inaugural football director at Melbourne Victory as well. So it'll be great to get his view on the state of affairs in the A-League at the moment. And he'll be coming on a little later on in the show, around about 7:30. And Zac Gruevski will be coming on approximately around about 7 o'clock. But in the meantime, Steve, let's kick it off with some of the news that's happening around town. Lots happening on and off the field. So take it away, mate. Over to you.
Big time. All right, let's hit the news desk for, what are we, Sunday, the 17th of October. The year's flying by already. Where do you want to start, mate? Do you want to start with a bit of A-League news, or are we going to go abroad?
Let's start off with some A-League news and Western United.
Yeah, so the announcement on Friday, Western United have signed 31-year-old Serbian striker, Alexander Prijovic. There it is there on your screen there. Formerly of Legia Warsaw, Al Ittihad, PAOK. He's got Champions League, Europa League experience, helped Serbia qualify for the last World Cup and got some minutes in there as well. He's a Swiss-born lad and he's 6'3", so he's definitely a big unit, Craig.
Big unit, Steve. Love to see the fans using my phrases now as well. To see that it's paying off, mate. Yeah, look, I think that's a great signing for them. If I'm honest, that gives them another different avenue. They've obviously got a lot of quick players up in that forward ranks of the club, and now they've got a different style of football. You know, Berisha was about getting the ball into his feet and so Prijovic is going to be exactly the same. I think it's a good signing for them.
Yeah, they need a little bit of experience up front, and they certainly need a little bit of class as well. So that's Western United. But further up north, Macarthur FC, Craig, are in a bit of spot of bother. I know they say pre-season results and what you're not. You can't really read too much into that. But behind closed doors, Sydney FC handed Macarthur FC a 5-0 drubbing. Is that cause for concern for the league's youngest club?
Nah, it's very early days. This is probably their first pre-season friendly. There was probably some kids in there as well. Look, can't take too much notice of early days. Interesting though that the ex Western United player was playing for Sydney, as you can see there in the photo, which after I think he missed a year of football, did he?
He did, and he does not look as good in that colour as he
No.
did in green and black down in Melbourne, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. But speaking of players changing clubs, Elvis Cam sober on the score sheet in this match, so that's an interesting one for both maybe Victory and Sydney fans to see how his Sydney tenure pans out, and then some doubles for Bobo and LaFondra. So, yep, Sydney, good start at least for them anyway, and MacArthur got
news
some more
broke
work
out.
to do.
Well, sorry, Steve. Also, news broke out from the UK that potentially MacArthur, along with Western Sydney Wanderers, are speaking with ex-Everton and Sunderland player Jack Rodwell, who apparently is in Australia to discuss coming over to the A-League. What's your thoughts on that one,
Steve?
Yeah, good signing. And the fact that he's ventured out here, it's probably a good sign that he's planning to stick around, assuming he can land something that he's happy with. So it'll be up to those clubs to duel out to see if they can secure his services. And I'm sure at A-League level he would shine like a diamond.
Interesting to see which club he does end up going, but the A-League certainly enjoying a little bit of influx on the back of Sturridge out at Perth Glory, and now this new fella at Western United, and Jack Rodwell as well. So lots of interesting names being bandied around, and we've got the A-League kicking off in just over a month's time. So. We'll be speaking with Gary Cole, who was, as we mentioned at the top of the show, he was the inaugural football director of Melbourne Victory. So he was obviously had the job of putting together a squad, and so we'll be able to get some of his thoughts on some of these players coming into the A-League. Now, Steve, speaking of the A-League, earlier this afternoon, FFA Cup action in Adelaide. And it was an Adelaide derby between the local NPL outfit, Adelaide Olympic, and Adelaide United, the city's A-League club. How did things pan out in the end there?
Yeah, really good match in front of a very good crowd at this synthetic venue, Velo Football Centre in the northwestern suburbs of Adelaide. Huge crowd, 2,500 roughly there. So it was packed out, and it was Jacob.
Which doesn't sound much, but for a local NPL club attracting that type of attendance locally, that's a pretty good crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if you saw the footage on TV, there wasn't really room for any more people. That was probably capacity for that venue. It was very much a full house there. It only had one sort of small grandstand, which was very full, and it was 2 or 3 deep all the way around the fence, at least on the terraces, or probably not terraces, just flat ground. So if you're a bit short, you want to get there early and get a spot in the front row. But Jacob Track with the goal on 16 minutes, and you thought, well, maybe Adelaide United by how much? But Adelaide Olympic stuck in it, and they performed really well. And one of the highlights, I suppose, was their keeper, Lewis Moss, saving a penalty in the second half from Ben Halloran, who was the acting captain for Adelaide on the day. And it sort of set up an exciting finish, because there was some genuine chances for Adelaide Olympic to level the scoring and send it to extra time. So Adelaide got over the line, but certainly it was a lot harder work out there on that synthetic pitch than they had expected. And they even had to try and ice the clock a little bit in injury time just to get over the line. So anyway, the holders of the FA Cup advanced through to the next round, and looked forward to seeing who they meet in the next one. And the other news this week, I suppose, was the fact that we found out that the games in Victoria will be going ahead. So we've got some fixtures to look forward to. South Melbourne and Melbourne City at Lakeside. That's on Friday night, the 12th of November. So stay tuned for crowd allowances and so forth on that one. And on the Wednesday, 2 nights earlier, it's Hume City and Port Melbourne doing battle as well. So there's a couple of big Victorian fixtures coming up in the next block of matches. And so that'll be good, seeing football return to Victoria to go and check out some exciting games.
And speaking of football returning in a big way, but not in Victoria, up in New South Wales, Craig, the Matildas are going to be, in a massive, massive way, going to be coming back down under. Big 2-match series against Brazil, 6 days to go. And they're going to, reportedly, they've released, I think, extra tickets earlier today. So it should be a decent-sized crowd up in the Harbour City.
Yeah, it's great to see football back, isn't it? Although it's very, very different. But, you know, I know Graham Arnold's been hammering it to get football back in Australia. And obviously the Matildas will be having the privilege of doing that against a very, very good Brazil side. I think they played them in a couple of games last year, I think it was, at home. So it'd be nice to see football being played again. And I suppose it sets us up nicely for the FFA Cup down here as well in a few weeks' time. So, yeah, Matildas. Look, how will they go? It's always a tough game against Brazil, and they're a good side. But look, I think the home crowd back in play in Australia will do the Matildas a world of good.
Yeah. Now, Steve, we've got so much to get through, but we're going to now catch a plane or a virtual plane and go over to the UK. And let's talk about some of the games overnight. But headlined by that man, Mohamed Salah, scoring his 104th goal in the Premier League. He's become now the highest scoring African player, along with Didier Drogba. But look at the difference in games that it's taken. And then on top of that, he also assisted Sadio Mane for Mane to score his 100th goal. Tell us about that historic encounter against Watford overnight.
Yeah, look, a fascinating one. It was first game in charge of Watford as well for Claudio Ranieri, and they sat in a pretty deep defensive block, didn't they, Watford? And they couldn't really threaten Liverpool very much. Salah, obviously, as you said, supplied that assist to open the scoring there with the outside of the boot, curled it around, and Mane had no trouble scoring that one. And yeah, ended up being 5-0 with a hat trick in there as well for Roberto Firmino, who was pretty happy with that. But yeah, certainly Salah, his individual effort for that goal. What do we think of that?
Craig?
Look, it was. Look, I think he's without doubt the best player in the world at the moment. His goal was very, very Messi-esque, I suppose. You know, very fantastic footwork in very tight areas. And you know, as a coach, you know, you spend a lot of time on the training ground with those technical, you know, doing step overs and little technical drills with the ball for that exact reason. So when young players think it's boring doing it, just keep getting it and doing it, because that goal last night was exceptional and probably will be up there for goal of the season at come the end of the year.
I'd agree with you, mate. I know we're talking off air about it, and you're saying, very Messi-esque. But seriously, honestly, you'd think that he would have to be, well, I won't say shoo-in because there's never a shoo-in, but he'd have to be a hot favourite to take out the Ballon d'Or, wouldn't you reckon, guys?
Steve?
Tough one.
I'll need a bit more. Need a bit more thinking time on that one, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure. Just based on the criteria of the when the voting is based on, I'm not sure how that will play out.
Yeah, I understand. I know, but
definitely at the moment, obviously he would be the shoe-in, but
but it's
I'm
not
not
just
sure over the calendar year how it would play out.
Craig, it's not, his effectiveness is not just his individual brilliance, but his importance and the contribution he gives to the team. And as I said, that assist for Sadio Mane, that pass with the outside of the foot in perfect position. To give Mane an opportunity to score his 100th goal, which he duly accepted. It's that type of contribution to the team just makes him just absolutely brilliant, doesn't it?
It does, Tonci. I think he's unplayable at the moment, if I'm honest. And I'm not a massive Liverpool fan, but yeah, you have to take your hat off to Liverpool, and you know those front three and Firmino, Mane, and Salah is just incredible when they play together. You know, what was it? All 5 goals were scored from them last night. So it tells you how important they are together. But Salah in that squad makes a massive difference. And for me, he's the best player in the world at the moment.
2 other results overnight that really caught a lot of people, I won't say by surprise, but certainly quite stunning results. Leicester City defeating Manchester United 4-2. And then Brighton being held to a 0-0 draw against lowly Norwich City. And that's had quite a fair effect on the makeup of the ladder, with the top three, Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City, almost sort of starting to move away, although it's still very close days, Steve, still very close after 8 rounds, but Everton can jump up there amongst the top 4 as well with the win. But actually, Everton, when are they playing? They're playing tomorrow morning against West Ham, so that's an important game for the Blues, Steve.
Yeah, it is. It is. Probably one of the big exciting games overnight was Wolves coming from 2-0 down in the last 10 minutes to win 3-2 with a 95th minute deflected free kick by Ruben Neves at Villa Park. Really spoiled the day for Aston Villa there. So an important win for Wolves as well, as they find themselves now in 8th place on the table.
And didn't Harry Maguire do well for Leicester last night? Their new signing.
Yeah, actually, I saw a bit of footage of Patson Daka's goal in the final minute of the game, and he certainly lost his marker very easily there. His marker was Harry Maguire. Yeah, so certainly copped a bit of stick from the fans of the King Power. Did Harry?
Yeah, guys, so much to get through, and we still haven't even had a chance to look at some of the other leagues and what you're not around Europe. But we've got very, very important guests coming up, so we're going to need to break that up very, very quickly. We're going to take a little break. Speaking of breaks, and gents, when we return, it's the first of our 2 big guests for tonight, Zac Gruevski, who is the chairman of the United Football Clubs of Victoria. And he's got some very, very important information to divulge tonight. So do not go away. Stay with us here on the Football Out West show. A massive, massive guest coming up immediately after the break.
Sport requires effort, sweat and strong will, and Macron knows it. A leading global company with Italian DNA in the production and sale of sportswear. When Macron first entered the sports world in 1971, it was a small yet strong player. Since then, Macron has been growing at a very fast pace, supporting teams, sportsmen and women at all levels, working hard to supply them with the best technical products to help improve their performances. With over 4 million pieces of stock available in our Italian warehouse and an extensive range of on-field, off-field and free-time products, we cater for everyone from amateurs to professional sporting organisations, even referees. Ranked 3rd most prominent football brand by the UEFA, Macron keeps expanding its presence worldwide, including Australia, where we are currently proud partners of Perth Glory, Macarthur FC, Port Adelaide and Parramatta Eels, and more to come. Work hard, play harder, Macron, your next teamwear partner. For more information, visit our website at www.macronvic.com.au or call us on 1800 Macron.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show. It is episode 78, and our first guest for tonight, an absolute pleasure to have back to the show. Former Preston Lions president, and he's now the chairman of the United Football Clubs of Victoria, Zac Gruevski. Zac, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Evening, Tonci. Good evening, Craig and Stephen, and good evening to all the guests of the program. Thanks again for the opportunity to come and join you this evening.
Not a problem. Looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. So, a few weeks ago we had you on, and we were talking about obviously the United Football Group of Victoria, and 40 odd clubs coming together to effectively have a say against Victoria's decision not to have promotion and relegation. A lot has gone on during that time. We understand that the group put forward a proposal to Football Federation about 2 weeks ago, which was reviewed. And on Thursday night, there was a board meeting to discuss the whole format that you sent in. Where do we stand as of today, Zac?
Thanks, Craig. Where we stand today is there's a lot of rumour flying around and a lot of messages and emails that I've received today from a range of people throughout the football world. The reality is that we still don't have a decision or an announcement that's been made by Football Victoria, and clearly we're looking forward to having an announcement made. look, as you rightly said, we've been working really closely as a group of clubs, and can I just take the opportunity to sincerely acknowledge and thank all the clubs who joined this group, and clearly provided the strength and the commitment for us to pursue this matter with Football Victoria. I can, as a representative, I guess, say I'm extremely proud of the clubs and the patience and the professionalism all the clubs have shown in this matter. Look, we, as I said, started this journey over 6 weeks ago, and we've done our utmost to try and do what's what we believe is in the best interests of football, and clearly to encourage Football Victoria to do the same. I think I used the term, and many of your listeners might have heard the term, the avoidance of bloodletting, and I was very precise about using that term. That was always our intention, and always has been our intention, to avoid the bloodletting and the embarrassment in the broader football world, and really to try and find a resolution that Football Victoria can actually own, and not a resolution that's actually legally imposed on us. And so, look, whilst there's been a lot of discussion, we got to a point partway through last week from the proposal that we'd put to, or the submission, I should say, that we put to the Federation probably about 3 weeks ago now. The reality was the most realistic option, knowing the position on the promotion relegation front that the Federation had taken. The most realistic option to give the clubs some hope was really some form of restructure, and that's an angle we obviously pushed pretty hard with the Federation. We had several discussions about the possible options of the type of restructure that potentially could occur, and really tried to be an advocate as opposed to an adversary with the Federation. Look, disappointingly, we haven't, as we expected, haven't seen an announcement. Obviously, our understanding was that after the board meeting, clearly on Thursday nights, a decision had been made by the Federation. So we're a little bit perplexed as to why that wasn't announced on Friday. Now, we understand, we're not silly, we're not naive to not understand the fact that these things, are sensitive, and that, regardless of what the decision is, some will be unhappy with the outcome. Our aim throughout has been to try and satisfy the majority of the clubs that have been part of our group. There's always going to be some who unfortunately may miss out in some form of restructure. So we wrote on the back of that on Friday evening. We wrote message the Federation to understand where we stood, and we're told that a decision now would be made on Monday. So clearly a little bit disappointing to hear that, and we followed up with a letter to them yesterday, just reiterating our position and really just encouraging them to show some leadership and some courage in making this announcement to the football family, who've been waiting very patiently for many weeks.
Now, Zach, we were told that there was a meeting with FV took place late last week. Are we able to have any insight at all, if possible, onto what went down with that one?
Yes, Stephen. Look, I think I just briefly touched on that. Obviously, without disclosing too much detail, the crux of the conversation was really about how do we, as a group of clubs, and myself as a representative of the group of clubs, assist the Federation to find a solution to this. We understand it's a sensitive issue. We understand there's plenty of people who are for and supporting this group, and there's plenty who, as we know, and I'm sure there's plenty of those on the messaging tonight who will argue that the season's done and dusted. Let's just move on. We clearly have taken a different approach to that, and clearly not satisfied with that decision. So the conversations were predominantly about what's palatable for the game and for the Federation, and it focused very heavily on that restructure issue as being realistically the only option that the Federation could go down in terms of a path. So that was the bulk of the conversation. It's and it's always been about being supportive of the federation. We know they're in a difficult spot, being supportive, but as I say, there's no two ways about that. The fact that something wasn't announced on Friday is extremely disappointing to the group, and to me showed a little bit of disrespect towards the clubs who, as I say, have worked tirelessly with them over a number of weeks.
Zac, in your opinion, why do you think they've postponed announcing that decision? Are they not yet sure, in your opinion? And maybe we're just talking about opinions. Are they just maybe not sure of their decision, or do they need to go back and consult other parties? Like what was the holdup? I mean, clubs want to know.
It's a good question, Tonci. Look, unfortunately, I don't know what the answer is, and I've not had any feedback as to why the Federation was not able to announce something on Friday. I mean, many of us, I think, cleared our decks in terms of our work diaries on Friday afternoon on the understanding that something was going to be released, and obviously for us to then communicate that with our group and for each of us as clubs, then or each of the clubs to communicate with our own people who have been waiting extremely patiently. So I don't exactly know. My understanding from my discussions with not only the CEO but also a couple of the board members was that they had enough information in preparation for that board meeting. There was nothing further that they needed in terms of consultation. They'd done all the consultation. That a decision was made. And look, I am going to raise an issue that it is somewhat concerning. Now, many might argue this is rumor or whatever, but it was pretty quickly that evening, on Thursday evening, when we learnt that obviously a decision should have been communicated on the Friday, was going to be. We learnt of some messages that were being circulated amongst some top tier clubs that clearly we got our hands on that would suggest that the board had voted in a particular manner, and this is no secret now that the vote was 4-3. Now we don't know what 4-3 means, whether it was for the restructure or opposing the restructure. But one of the things we were clearly asked to do as a group, and me as a representative of that group, was to because we were asking obviously any information that could be shared with our group before it went public. That was not forthcoming. We were asked to respect a decision the Federation board had made, that the decision was to be embargoed until the Friday. We respected that decision. However, it's clear, obviously, some people didn't respect that decision. Now, again, you can argue that people are making up rumors, and it's easy to shoot messages around. But my only question, and a number of our clubs who have contacted me in the last couple of days would suggest, well, how does that level of detail that a board had potentially voted 4-3, how does that information get out? And that's a concern that the board has to deal with in some shape or form. Having been a board member and sat around those tables, I would be disturbed that when a decision is made by the board, until such time as it's communicated, that it stays within the board. That is a genuine concern that I've raised and the club has raised. I've raised on behalf of the clubs based on some conversations I've had with many of them in the last 24 hours or so.
How many clubs were there in the end? How many clubs formed part of this movement, this group?
Well, in the end, we ranged from 30 odd. The most recent count, we got up to about 48 clubs who are genuinely interested. I mean, not all of them had attended every forum, but many of them, whether it be through email, through other forums, had communicated their support and their absolute commitment for this group. As I said, in recent times, we had a number of about 48 clubs. So to me, that's a pretty substantial number. And a large group of clubs like that don't form together unless they've got genuine concerns that they actually want to raise with the federation.
And speaking of the concerns, sorry guys, but speaking of the concerns that these other clubs have, is it purely just the promotion or relegation or the lack of transparency or whatever the case may be from Football Victoria? or are there more underlying issues? And is this suggesting that quite dramatic change or almost like a revolution needs to happen in Victorian football, because obviously some things aren't going right the way they should?
Look, it's a really good question, Tonci, and I remember having this conversation with the group of clubs almost 6 weeks ago, probably the first meeting we held with the group of clubs, and that was one of the discussions we did have, that the focus of our work in the last 6 weeks has predominantly been on the issue of, call it promotion, relegation, restructure, the dissatisfaction basically with a decision the Federation had made on the back of not only verbal promises, but written commitments that promotion relegation was going to exist for 2021.
Is this the message that came out on August the 8th?
Exactly right. Well, and that was the last message that came out on August the 8th. You're spot on, Craig. There were significant other messages, and this is not message. We're not talking. This is public information that was sent in writing to the clubs that season 2021 will see, regardless of what happened. There was no mention of adjustments to rules of competition potentially as a result of COVID, and the Federation have erred in that, and really should have, as they have done recently. So many of the clubs would have responded to a survey for a couple of options to try and mitigate this happening again. Some changes to the rules of competition, and clubs have obviously voted on that in the last week or so. So if we knew there was going to be some concerns, that's the concern the clubs have. We'd just come out of a cancelled season due to COVID. We're still staggered by that. Now, look, again, let's not go over that old ground. But Tonci, if I could just come back to your point there. Initially, clearly, the focus was and continues to be on the promotion, relegation, or restructure issue. But clearly, as I've described, when you do hear certain things, all of us have been around the game for a long time, and one of the things we've put to the board is to say, listen, we want you to govern, we want you to show courage, and we want you to show leadership that's in the best interest of the 350 plus clubs in this state, and not the top tier of clubs, the 14 clubs that, in our view, seem to have some sort of disproportionate attention and input into the running of the game in this state. Now, all of us know, with some recent information that the Federation's put out, there'll be discussion, in fact, this coming week on constitutional reform, which is significantly overdue. We all know that. This has been spoken about for several years. Now, there are some forums, and congratulations to the Federation for going down this path, because many clubs have clearly been dissatisfied with a multitude of issues in the game. And if it gives clubs an opportunity to have a say, as it should, in the running of this game, we're all passionate people who love football. And that's all we want to get back to. We want a decision to be made tomorrow. And not a decision. We understand decisions being made. We want an announcement clearly to be made tomorrow. So all of us as clubs just get on with things and get back to doing exactly what we're in existence for. And that's for the love of football. And get out and start planning for 2022.
Just going back to your conversation, the statement you made earlier on, Zach, regarding the meeting that happened on Thursday evening. Obviously, there was some kind of message that got out from that room, which is, in my eyes, really disturbing that something like that can get out. Given that message has gone out, do you believe that might be the reason of why they didn't announce on Friday evening that they're looking into that to find out, first and foremost, who sent it, why they sent it? Look, lots of rumors around who sent it. I suppose we'll never really find out unless that board member is axed from the board, and then we'll have a pretty good idea who it is. But do you think that has got a part to do with the reason why they didn't come out on Friday evening?
Look, difficult to say, Craig. I mean, if that was a reason,
if you were still on the board and you found out that somebody had sent a message out, you'd be deeply concerned, wouldn't you?
I'd be extremely concerned. I mean, not just concerned. It would be disturbing behaviour that information like that we know is sensitive and that we know clubs are waiting on. Extremely disturbing that sort of information gets out. Now, is that the reason the announcement was held back? I'm not sure. I mean, I would have thought that if you've made a decision the previous evening, I would have thought it's incumbent on the board and the management team to get the information out to people. So you stop the rumours circulating about what's what and how. If a decision's been made, let's just get on with it. That's all clubs are asking for. And the federation can do whatever it so chooses with respect to understanding and investigating, if they so choose, again, as to how and how that information potentially got out. It is concerning. It is concerning that these things continue to happen, and that we just can't get on with trying to prepare for the season 2022.
Steve.
Yeah, a lot of comments coming in about the signings of Christopher Theodorides and Ursun Gulam to the club. I think there's an assumption from a lot of people that the club is expecting to be in NPL 2 next season based on those signings. What's your gut feel of what's going to happen tomorrow or this week?
Sure, I'll tell you, mate.
Tough question.
On the back of what I thought was going to happen on Friday, I'm just perplexed. I'm still hopeful that the board, as I say, has made the right decision and has gone down a restructure path as to what methodology and what science they applied. Because look, let's also be clear: the federation was in a difficult spot, and they needed to find, I'm assuming, some sort of scientific view on how a restructure could occur.
They'll use Dan.
We get all that.
They'll use Dan Andrews' supercomputer, Zach.
Not quite that close to the Premier, mate. So look, we're expecting an announcement to be made tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
What that restructure will look like, Stephen, I'm not entirely sure. To maybe respond to the first part of your question around Preston, signing certain players on the assumption that something would happen. Look, probably difficult for me to comment on that. I'm not clearly running the club these days. Yeah. But, it would be fair to say, ambitious clubs like Preston and Georges and a whole host of others, it would be fair, based on the information that the clubs have received in the last little while, it would be fair to say that they should expect some sort of reward, and that potentially they're planning accordingly. Again, that's not on the back of anything official, but you're not going to stop ambitious clubs continuing doing what they do, and that's the reality. And whilst I know some clubs have had some serious challenges in convincing players and coaches and others to come across to their club, or even to be retained by their club, given the uncertainty. And I feel for the players, the coaches, and all the clubs who find themselves in this very difficult spot. And all they want to know is some clarity and some certainty about what they're planning to do, or what can they do for 2022. And
I think that's the key, isn't it? I mean, we've got one great comment.
Yeah, can I just jump in there? Sorry, Tonci, before you put that one in. From the group's point of view, Zach, so the federation come out tomorrow with their proposal, whatever that is, good, bad, or indifferent. Where does it leave the group should Football Federation come out and say it's not happening? Let's all prepare for where you are for State League for 2022. What's the next step then for the group? Do they take it legal? Do they forget about it and we move on? What's the stance on the group?
Look, I think, Craig, it's going to be extremely difficult for the group to forget about exploring a legal avenue. We've been absolutely crystal clear from day dot. We have a meeting with the group on Tuesday evening, really to allow everyone to digest the announcement tomorrow and then through Tuesday. We've got a meeting, regardless of what is announced. We've got a meeting with the group on Tuesday evening, as I say. And really, I'm not going to determine what the group wants to do, but we have always said, and this was never intended as a threat to the federation. This was about saying, listen, we're prepared to explore all other options if we're not able to reach some sort of amicable and sensible resolution to this matter. And really, it's then for the group of clubs, and I'll be guided by them, and I'll continue to support the clubs to pursue whatever actions they so choose on Tuesday evening.
Yeah, look, a lot of good comments on our comment section, but it's probably one that really sums it up. Mutlu Oztas says, our transfers are going to depend on the news tomorrow. And in effect, that's just what the clubs want. At the moment, it's quite no one really knows what's going on. So this was supposed to happen on Friday. Hopefully it'll happen tomorrow. And I guess until tomorrow, until we get that announcement, we won't really know. As clubs, we won't really know going forward. So that is going to be the big, it's going to be very, very groundbreaking. So we're looking forward to that. Zac, thank you very much for coming on the show. I guess anything else we talk about is really rumors or feelings or everything else until the inevitable happens and we actually do find out what is going to go. And then I guess the next step, as you say, we'll know any formulas, if there's going to be a promotion relegation. Is it top 2? Is it top 3 playing off for a playoff or whatever the case may be? Probably may well get messy. Who knows?
Look, and Tonci, if I could just make a final comment, please. I mean, we've tried to avoid any of this getting messy. And I think anyone who's actually followed this, I'll call it a program of work, should acknowledge the professionalism of the group. And as I said earlier, the patience and the respect that the clubs have shown the federation in trying to find a sensible resolution. And I'll perhaps close. And you're spot on. You know, we are extremely reliant on the federation making this announcement, and we do expect that to happen tomorrow. Now, again, it's the world of football is watching and waiting. Clearly, and having been on the board, it's an absolute privilege, in my view, for the board and the senior management team as custodians and stewards of the game to take this opportunity to unite football, to demonstrate the strength and independence and the leadership to actually do the right thing by the game and by our clubs who've waited extremely patiently.
Yeah. Zac, much appreciated, and we look forward to maybe even getting you on in the next few weeks with a further update as to the situation. And it is something that everyone is looking forward to tomorrow's announcement. That's for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Tonci, just finally, if I could just perhaps really quickly on behalf of the group acknowledge this wonderful program. You fine gentlemen who've allowed us the opportunity to share our voice and to tell our story, and also to the other media outlets who've actually written articles and allowed us to jump on their programs again to share our side of the story, with the endeavour, obviously, as I've always said, to try and find an amicable resolution to this matter. So thank you again for the opportunity, and thank you again to your listeners for the commentary and the support that the broader football world has also shown this group.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you. I thought you were going to thank all the clubs that have come on board, but you're thanking us. So thank you. Everyone's thanking out.
I think I already thanked all the wonderful clubs who joined this group at the outset, mate. So I don't want to labour that point too much. They're a wonderful group of people who are just super passionate about football and love their clubs like all of us.
Look, what I'll say off the back of that as well, Zac, and we've said it so many times on this show, where, the media outlet here is not here to point fingers and have a go at anybody. We're here to try and make the game better. We've spoken about it on a number of occasions. Everybody wants to make the game better here in Australia, and shows like this help do that. So we're not record breaking. We're not trying to change things. We just want to give everybody a view and a platform to have their say. And as we keep saying so many times, if you've got and you want to be involved, get involved. Otherwise, nothing will ever.
You've got the vehicle to have a say. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks, Zac. Good luck tomorrow, and we'll catch up with you in the week.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Zac Gruevski, the chairman or the president, if you like, or actually the chairman of the United Clubs of Victoria. Mate, it's Craig, firstly to you. It's a big issue. I don't know about you, but I don't think this is an issue that's going to go away. And it's not just purely the promotion, relegation, the restructuring. I think, as Zach pointed out there was a leak at the top at board level. I've had a couple of conversations during the week with fellow, and Zach mentioned media, people that are involved in the media. And there's a lot of people, not very happy with the way things are happening at the moment from St Kilda Road. But I don't know if this is an issue that's going to go away so quickly.
No, I agree with you. My phone hasn't stopped. If I'm absolutely honest, people ringing me up asking me what's going on as if I'm in the know. I'm in the same boat as everybody else. But it's, as I said, it would be very disturbing for me, whether it's Kim On or Antonello, whoever on that board, that something has got out regarding it. And maybe that's the reason why there wasn't an announcement. And Zach obviously didn't know that, but certainly it wouldn't be. I wouldn't imagine it'd be a pretty place at the moment, the boardroom, knowing that somebody's leaked some information out to the general public, which, as I said, is a concern.
Yeah, Steve, your take on all of this? It's an interesting time, but the clubs that they just want to know so that they can start planning for next year. As you rightly pointed, so some of the clubs are able to do that if they're in a position or in a financial position. Other clubs are just waiting to see where they're going to be playing. And look, just as we have breaking news announced by Heidelberg United not even 8 minutes ago on their social media, the Franich brothers, Ivan and Joseph, have signed with Heidelberg United. So some clubs are kind of clearly getting a little bit of a jump on other clubs, I guess. Is that the best way to describe it? Thoughts?
Are you asking me, Tonci, or Steve?
Oh,
Steve. Oh, go on, you go.
I don't know. There'll be plenty more time to sign players again before the season. Obviously, Heidelberg United, they're not really involved in this situation themselves directly. It's a massive decision, whatever way they go. It's an enormous decision. There's a lot riding on it. But as you rightly said, Tonci, clubs need to know very soon so that they can start making their plans. So certainly time's up, and the decision needs to be made and needs to be released, and adequate reasons need to be cited to go along with whatever decision is made, so that everyone's clear as to how and why it come to this, whatever they go with. So. The time is now to make it happen, and then the clubs can get on with it and start planning for the future. And just on Zach as well, what a tremendous spokesperson for the group of the United Football Clubs in Victoria. Very articulate spokesman, and very, very well said when he came on the show once again to make his point. So hopefully, we can look forward to maybe going and watching Preston in person next season on some big Friday nights. Look forward to doing that.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Indeed. An issue that is certainly not going to go away, and we're also not going to go away. We're going to have a very, very quick break. When we return, he was an NSL legend. He was a Socceroo legend. He was one of the inaugural football director, or was the inaugural football director at the Melbourne Victory, and he will be our next guest, Gary Cole. So don't go away. It's going to be an awesome, awesome interview coming up on the other side of the break.
CMF Soccer Coaching offers tailor-made personal and small group development coaching throughout the western suburbs of Melbourne and Greater Geelong. With over 20 years of experience working and playing within the academy systems of several professional clubs in both the UK and Australia, CMF Soccer Coaching has a player-first philosophy to ensure that all sessions are tailored around the individual's needs at all times. Under the guidance of UEFA and AFC qualified coaches, we specialise in one-on-one and small group coaching sessions, offering European-style academy-level training with the sole aim of improving players' technical and game understanding in a safe, friendly environment. If you are new to the game or a seasoned campaigner looking for some additional coaching, then we can help. To find out more about what we can offer and how we can help you improve your game, visit our Facebook or Instagram pages for more information, or simply email us at cmfsoccercoaching@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show, and what a show it has been so far, gentlemen. It has been an amazing show, and it is still a lot of interest, a lot of excitement, a lot of entertainment coming up. And with that, guys, it's an absolute pleasure introducing our next guest. And he He joins us on the Football Out West show, former Socceroo, NSL great, Melbourne Victory football director, the inaugural one, and he's also heavily involved in the Football Coaches Australia on the executive committee. Gary Cole. Gary, very, very warm welcome to you to the Football Out West show.
Thanks, Tonci. Really appreciate that, mate. Lovely introduction. Craig, great to be with you. Steve, it's a great pleasure. You guys are doing a wonderful job, not for football just out west, but football in Victoria. So keep up the great work.
Craig, it seems like we have outgrown the West, haven't we? Yeah, but
we have. It certainly wasn't that. It wasn't the intention when we started off, which was, and we keep saying it was only ever going to be for 3 shows, and then we're on 78 today.
78
today. So it's obviously got that. Now, having listened to Zac, then we didn't get you on to talk about that. But what's your stance from a footballing great here in certainly Victoria or in Australia, mate? What's your stance on the current situation?
Yeah, look, hard to summarise your 45-minute chat with Zac in a couple of sentences. So
just in one sentence, yeah.
At the end of the day, I think what we all want is people talk about the good of the game. And the good of the game means the whole game. It doesn't mean a few clubs or a few people. So we want what's in the best interest of the game. You can only hope that whatever the decision that's made by Football Victoria and its board, they're very transparent as to why and can explain clearly to people, because clubs are made up of players and coaches and mums and dads and fans, and they just want to know what's going on. You know, we do it because we love it, and we're going to go back to it because we love it. But people invest a significant part of their life and time and family time into these organisations, and so we just need to be upfront and honest with them.
Yep.
Now, Gary, speaking of something that has lasted a long, long time and not probably expecting it to last so long, mate, when you first came to this country in the early 1970s to play in the Victorian Premier League or the Soccer League back in then, you've remained a part of our wonderful football environment and family here. Did you, when you first started playing for Ringwood Wilhelmina back in 1972, which is a great year, by the way, that's the year I was born, did you expect that you were going to stay here?
Gary's just going to
talk about my age now.
Did you write this question down?
Yeah. Did you expect that you were going to remain in Australia evermore?
I can be absolutely honest, Tom. No, I didn't, because we touched down in Australia in 1971, and I played with my dad in the reserves at South Yarra before I had the chance to go to Ringwood City Wilhelmina. I was at Elwood High School, and as a 15-year-old boy that had just left London, I can say quite honestly that I hated Australia for the first 3 or 4 months. And it was actually football that was the saving grace for me. So, right at the start, I would have said no. But once I got involved with football, it was the love of the game, as it always is, that just keeps us coming back for more.
And 1978, called up for the Australian national team. What was that like when you first got the call?
Bit surreal, really, Steve. I had had a call up before we went. Back before there was under 23 football, Australia were invited to play in a tournament in Indonesia, and Eric Worthington, who was the first national technical director of Australia, was employed by Rothmans then. So we had a cigarette company who were the major sponsors of our coaching program.
Times have changed.
Took a group of young players for a few days, and it was all quite bizarre. But it was very starry-eyed stuff because, of course, in 1974, I'd been in Australia when we qualified for the first time to go to the World Cup. And I'd started to play at the higher levels of the game and started to meet some of those guys. So it was absolutely fantastic to be a part of that. And my first senior international, I played at Olympic Park, where I played with Heidelberg by then. One of my favourite stadiums in the country. I just love playing there. We played against Greece and were, in the nicest possible way, booed onto the pitch because there were probably more Greek fans than there were Australian fans. Back then, there was plenty of blue and white because there were plenty plenty of Greeks in the crowd. There wasn't too much green and gold. No memorabilia. The only way you had a scarf was if your grandma knitted you a green and gold scarf. So, but it was a great night. I scored a great goal, and unfortunately, your show isn't long enough for me to tell you just how good that was.
Mate, the NSL days, we talked about it, a legend of the NSL era. You played for two of Melbourne's biggest clubs. Not the two biggest clubs, I suppose, and that's up to argument. But Heidelberg, as you mentioned, 177 games. And then Preston, who we had former president Zac Gruevski on the line. And look, two great clubs who at the moment are really enjoying a major renaissance off the field. Both are getting some phenomenal facilities. And your time, you were involved at Football Victoria, where you were heavily involved in the whole facility strategy. And it must be from a personal matter, really exciting to see those two clubs doing so well off the field, getting these multi-million-dollar facilities long overdue. But also from your own professional matter, to see that a lot of facilities in Victoria, all around Victoria, are starting to get that long needed capital influx, if you like.
Yeah, look, it is time. Obviously, I've got huge ties to both clubs. I spent a long time at the Burgers from Fitzroy United, and then it changed and made the big no-no at the time. I crossed from Fitzroy United, Alexander, across to Preston Macedonia, and that's not something that was done quite easily then. But they were great days with great players, with fantastic fans. The sad thing was that if I walked back into both of those stadiums 2 years ago, they looked exactly the same, maybe a little bit improved, but essentially the same as when we played back in the late 70s and early 80s. And we all know that the game badly needs investment in the infrastructure. You know, we've turned away, when I was at Football Victoria, we were turning away boys and girls because the clubs didn't have enough room for them, because they didn't have facilities. Or the girls, the best facilities they could come up with for the girls team was a shed round the back, and girls were changed in the car and come. So, you know, the release of that facilities football strategy by Football Victoria was long overdue. And it was great because that's part of playing the political game, as you're only too well aware, that you have to be a national and a state sporting organisation, and you can then work with local government authorities and get on side with them. And at that time, I think we were fortunate. We were followed two elections, a federal election and then a state election here in Victoria. And through the states and feds and local government and investment from some of the clubs themselves, we had $120 million promised to Victorian football. And that's never happened before. And so that's certainly not all on me. It's the work of a whole bunch of people, including, you know, you were in a role there out pounding the footpath around, trying to do the right thing with local government and get that investment. Because, you know, the players will play anywhere, any time, but we really need, if you're going to keep people in the game, we need the best facilities that we can provide.
Absolutely. Is enough, when we're talking about facilities now, the Women's World Cup, 2 years away, before you know it, it's going to arrive on our doorstep. Is enough being done at the moment in that field? Or do we need to really ramp it up quite dramatically to improve those facilities for the Women's World Cup when it does arrive in 2 years' time?
Well, I think there's two parts to that. Yeah, I'm going to say yes, because it doesn't really matter what state and territory you live in. We need better football facilities. We need more football facilities, and we certainly need female-friendly football facilities. That's just that's a no-brainer. The second part of that is, you know, when you have a World Cup, when you have a major international event in your country, people invest billions of dollars for all sorts of reasons to build infrastructure. But then you often hear the term the legacy banded around, and that is what's left when the games are finished. You know, too often in the past, when we had an Olympic Games or whatever it was, a Commonwealth Games, there would be investment in sporting facilities, but those if they were here in Victoria, you could almost guarantee they would be oval in shape, so that, you know, you'd have a football tournament and somehow the oval facilities would get the improvements, and football would benefit for the competition, but not ongoing. So for me, there's a combination of both things. I'm not involved in member fed or FFA level anymore. I know that there are some really good people in all of those organisations that are talking to government, and that's the game. I think that's what our game has to get better at. The game of liaising with politics at local, state, and federal level is a part that our game just hasn't been good enough for long enough. And we can get better at it because it's quite amazing how often when I was in the role at Football Victoria, I got introduced to someone that was in a high level of government and coached an under-15 team, or was the parent of a daughter that played in the under-13s and had another daughter in the under-8s, but they didn't say too much about it because it was football. And, that's a little bit scary. But yeah, for me, keep doing the work and let's work on the legacy as well.
Absolutely.
Now just go back to the Socceroos side of it for me a second. We'll probably keep swapping and to and froing from it all. The current Socceroos, Gary, how do you see that going at the moment? Obviously, had a massive disappointing result over in Japan on the week. But how do you see? Obviously, Arnie's been away for what best part of I think it's almost 6 months, isn't it, since he's been in Australia? Yeah. How do you think the Socceroos are progressing?
Well, unfortunately for Arnie and us all, they always get judged on the last game. You know, you win 11 in a row, and wins. We all know, we're all coaches. Wins cover over paper over cracks. It wasn't the world's greatest performance. Could it have been better? Yeah, probably could. I mean, they ended up maybe being unlucky to eventually losing it. But in the overall scheme of things, I'd have said that Japan deserved their win. What I found out during the week, of course, is that, you know, they had one training session when they got there. They left the Middle East to fly into Japan on a 2:30 a.m. flight, had to spend 4 hours in the airport. So, you know, that sort of stuff doesn't get out. The media don't pick up on that sort of stuff, but it certainly has an impact. I think that they've got to get better, Craig. There's no doubt about that. And this is the time where that happens. You know, they're at the pointy end of qualification now where Arnie's going to have, they're playing against Japan and Saudi Arabia and the big boys, Iraq and Iran. But this is where the magic happens.
Yeah, so, look, and I said that last week on the show, Gary, that, you know, it's okay winning 11 on a row, but when you put those 11 in and you're playing Vietnam, China, whatever they were called, you know, it really brings it back that was the big game for them. If they are as good as we think they are, then obviously that was the big game in Japan. Now, for me, and we'll touch on it later on with the football coaching side of it, the technical ability of the Japanese we know is very, very good. We've had
absolutely.
What was his name? Tonci on the other week. Tom Byers. Yep. About that, you know, soccer from home, starting early. There was a big difference in the technical ability of Japan to the Australian players. It was as straight as a nose on your face. As you know, it was that clear to see. There's more need to be done in that area.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, Japan's very, very different. I've got to know Tom over the years. I can call Tom a friend, and you know, if I was a FA or we tried at Football Victoria, why on earth football in this country doesn't grasp a hold of the concept of football starts at home? You know, how much would it cost us to give any brand new baby that's born in Australia or a ball with some photocopied instructions on how to manipulate it at home? So that's the first. The challenge is we live in a society where kids are sat on the couch playing with electronic devices more often than not. So when you grew up in the UK, when Tonci grew up, wherever you
Geelong,
you grew up,
Victoria.
Geelong, there you go. You were out in the streets, you were out in the park.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Steve, I've not left you out there on purpose, but you look younger than most, so I'm not quite sure. But we were out with the ball all the time, and the reality is that doesn't happen anywhere near as often. You know, when you look back on that golden generation of players, there was the AIS for them, and that's a whole nother can of worms about, you know, what facilities have we got for these kids. But they were from football families, and essentially the story is the same. You know, before school, after school, they were juggling the ball, they were kicking the ball around, they were playing with their mates. They went down to play football but they played with their mates before the game. They played with their mates after the game. If they went to watch the seniors, they were playing with their mates out the back. That's very, very different. And that's obviously not unique to Australia. That's happening around the world. But most of the world, when we look at it, are football-playing nations where football is the number one sport. You know, we're down the list behind AFL, behind NRL, probably behind cricket, apart from the numbers of kids that play, but in terms of the popularity of the overall game. So, yeah, again, Craig, we've got to do more with players, and that's a part of the reason that, you know, I've enjoyed my work with Football Coaches Australia, because in my head, it's only logical, if we want players to get better, then we have to help our coaches to get better as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And we will talk a bit about the Football Coaches Australia and your role with that organisation and overall coaching very, very shortly. We're going to take a break before we do that. But before we do take a break, Gary, you've been involved, as we mentioned, with Melbourne Victory in the early days, in the formative days when the A-League was just starting. So you've obviously seen the A-League develop over its last 2 decades. Where is the exciting year ahead, no doubt, with the new TV deal, the APL and what you're not. Tell us your thoughts about the A-League and how far or how little it's come, or in your eyes. Where are we at with the A-League as far as it being the number one, the elite football league in Australia?
Yeah, look, I think there's no doubt it's struggled the last couple of years. COVID's had an impact on all sports, and it had probably had one of its poorest years in the overall quality of it before COVID kicked off. But there is, like everything in life, you know, when bad things happen, there are good things, because we're creative individuals and things evolve. So one of the blessings that's happened for me through this COVID period, Tonci, has been that because COVID's impacted budgets significantly, the number of overseas coaches has dropped off remarkably, and that's allowed us to have more Australian coaches coaching in the A-League men and the A-League women's program. And one of the blessings in that follows through is that those Australian men and women actually know the young players, because they've coached them. They've seen them come up through the academies. And, you know, I think for all of the bad stuff that's happened, one of the great things that we all spoke about last season was, how good is it to see this young bloke come through? How good is it to see this young girl come through? You know, you've got the W League where they've got 15, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds coming through again. Not too much of that in the A-League, but we did see a couple of 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds break through and start to play more regularly. And not just in one or two teams, but that started to happen, you know, even at the larger clubs as well. So that for me is significant, because we need, obviously we want more time for Australian coaches, we want more time for Australian players, and we want the league to get better. And as far as, you know, the Australian professional leagues, I think I had the opportunity to chat with Danny Townsend, who's the CEO of Sydney FC, and also in his spare time in the APL, God only knows how he fits it all in, I don't know. But he's a very, very impressive character. You know, they've done some significant things. They've got free-to-air TV for the first time, in my memory, since when I played. You know, there's going to be a whole bunch of things. We're going to see our former footballers on shows, on magazine football shows. You know, Saturday night's going to be 4 hours of football. There's going to be a pre-game show, a men's show, a women's game, a men's game, then a post-game show. You know, 4 hours of football on free-to-air TV. Who'd have ever thought that would happen in my lifetime? I couldn't see it happening.
And we used to it, Gary. You know, we used to have Match of the Day, Focus, and all those things.
Absolutely.
So
You've been sport. If you've come from another country, you've come from Europe or South America, that's a cultural thing. That comes with a game, but it hasn't come with a game here for a lifetime. So I think it's a really, really exciting time, Tonci. You know, it would be great if you think that success is linear, and I wish I had a texter, but If I start in that bottom corner and go, how do I do this? Most people think that success goes like sort of, I'm trying to go up there from corner to corner in a straight line. But we all know it doesn't go like that. Success goes, that's the way it goes. It goes down a bit. The J League is one of the strongest leagues in Asia, but it didn't work for a long time. And they've got significant investment by major corporations. Major League Soccer, died a death before it made a major comeback. So I'm really excited because I believe that we need Australian players in the shop window. I think the A-League can be a great competition. We want more players in it. We want more Australian players, more Australian coaches, and then we want it to flow over into a second division and hopefully get some promotion and relegation and see our game become more like the game we all fell in love with.
You just mentioned the second division, and there has been talk of maybe even as early as next year, announcement of expansion of the A-League men's, that is. In your opinion, though, what excites you more, the idea or the prospect of expansion in the A-League or the formation or creation of a national second division, where clubs maybe like Preston and Heidelberg could probably once again return to the national theatre? Yeah,
well, I think that's got to be the goal. We lost that for a long time because of the old ethnicity thing, and thank goodness that's been put to bed, and we've lost that again, and we can be proud of our cultural heritage. I think back to coming to Australia in 1971 and going around the grounds. Will Hastings, my colleague at Football Victoria, just talks about going into the different grounds and that different atmosphere that was created, the music going on in the background, the people there, but the smell of the food, the koftas and the souvlaki and the cevapcic, you can close your eyes and walk into any of those grounds and had that cultural essence. So for me, being able to involve it all is really, really important.
Yeah.
God only knows how that happens because football in Australia is so expensive because of the size of the country, Tonci. But we need it, and I don't know how they're going to work out promotion and relegation. This is the bit that I know. We've got some fantastic football minds now involved in the country. We've got some fantastic business people, and for the first time, the draw that had too hard on it has been opened again, and the national second division is out of the draw, and it's now on the table, and people are trying to think about how we can do it. Because when we moved into the AFC, a part of the conditions for Australia entering was we had to have a national second division within 10 years. And essentially, my understanding was that the FFA Cup was a part of the reason for trying to not needing to do that. And look how wonderful that's turned out for us as well. So, I think it's exciting times. Is it perfect? No. Is it getting better? Yeah. Are there more Aussie kids playing? Yep.
Absolutely.
Are there more Aussie coaches coaching? Yep. Bring me more. Just need to get more bums on seats. And now, congratulations, everyone. Hey, Victorians, next Friday.
You've just moved back into Melbourne, haven't you?
No. I've been back since 2012.
Yeah.
I've just moved down to the beach, Craig. I've moved away from the burbs, and I'm now down by the beach.
Yeah,
swimming in cold water, if you could believe that.
I can believe that, mate. It is an absolute pleasure chatting to you. We're going to have a little bit of a break. When we return, we're speaking with Gary Cole, former Socceroos and NSL legend, Melbourne Victory football director, the inaugural one, and he's also the executive committee member of the Football Coaches Australia. And we'll be talking about that. And overall, that's a real pet conversation of ours here on the Football Out West show, coach development. So we'll chat to you immediately after the break. Don't go away, guys. Don't go away, fans. We're going to just take a very, very quick message break from some of our advertisers and sponsors. Don't go away. It's the Football Out West show.
Looking for the best in authentic Maltese cuisine? Then you need to dine at Georgie's on Vista. Situated in the heart of Fraser Rise, you can't go wrong when it comes to family dining. We have a menu for mum and dad, one for the kids, and one for seniors. Everyone's taken care of. Don't miss our specialty nights. Tuesday night is Parma night, where you get to choose from not one, but 5 different Palmers. Wednesday night, kids eat free with every paying adult meal. Thursday night is Members Night, where members get the chance to win some great prizes. And Friday night, join us for happy hour between 5:30pm to 7:30pm. Jim, Johnny, Jack and their little brother Schooner are only $5 each. Looking to get an early start Friday afternoon for a punt? Our sports bar with TAB is open from 3pm Friday afternoons. To book your table, email info@georgesonvista.com.au. Bring the family and come dine at George's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, Plumpton.
And hopefully it won't be too long before we are able to have a dining experience at the Georges on Vista. You are tuning into the Football Out West show, and we're speaking with our guest, Gary Cole, tonight. Craig, you wanted to introduce the next topic.
Let's turn my mic on. Yeah, my wife just bought me a nice cup of tea. So, let's talk the next topic, which is something that I'm a huge advocate of, and I know that we've spoken about it many times on here. And Football Coaches Australia, Gary, is something you're heavily involved in. Can you tell us and the listeners what Football Coaches Australia is about, how it can improve football here, and how people can get involved?
I can, Craig. I've made an absolute boo-boo. I'm sitting here on my laptop and my battery's about to run out. Can you give me 30 seconds to plug my battery in? Talk amongst yourselves. Hang on, I'll be back.
I feel like I've been there many a time myself, actually. I'm not sure you have as well, Craig.
Well, you certainly have, Steve. But at least the internet's not going. That's the main thing. Although Tonci has gone, is he?
I'm not sure where he's got to. Maybe he's gone to fetch himself a cup of tea as well, Tonci. I'm not too sure.
No, interesting. It's great to
I'm
hear
back,
Gary.
Guys. Sorry about that.
Oh, he's back as well.
Oh, there's Gary. He's making some adjustments, I think.
Yeah, his laptop's just about to die. He's made a schoolboy error.
No batteries, no. He's back. We've got Gary back on the line.
I can't honestly say I sprinted, but I moved.
I was going to see right there, mate, aren't you?
A schoolboy error. Didn't plug the computer in. Oh dear. Now, where were we, Craig?
Yeah, look, I just want to start talking our next 10 or 15 minutes, Gar, about Football Coaches Australia, the importance of how it was originally set up, obviously your involvement in it, and how it's contributing to the betterment of coaches here in Australia. Yeah,
well, that's firstly, congratulations on being a member, Craig. I know you've been a member pretty much from the get-go, so congratulations on that, because it's an organisation that is funded from its members right now. Hopefully that will change in the not too distant future, but congratulations on that. I know you've had a chat with Harry Bingham on your show. I'm not sure if you've spoken to Ian Greener, but 12 years ago, I think Ian and Harry and Frank McGrellis set up AFCAT, Australian Football Coaches and Teachers, because the reality is coach education in Australia has been a revenue stream for member feds and the national body. They've run licensing, now affiliated through AFC, obviously, but that's been a significant revenue stream, but has only gone as far as giving people a license. And if you think about giving an 18-year-old going through, being all excited and getting their license, it gives them access to the road, but it doesn't make them a great driver. So for me, it's really, really important that coaches have an opportunity to grow and get better. Because if you think about it, we're human beings, so we learn from our mistakes all the time. The reality for most coaches, though, you have too many mistakes and you're out of a job and you're looking for another one. So, how do coaches get better? And I think Ian and Harry and Frank did a great thing with AFCAT 10 years ago. Then roll the clock on, and Australian coaches needed a seat at the table. They wanted to be able to get a seat at the table to be able to get a vote as to who sits on the board at Football Australia. And to do that, you needed a national organisation. So Glenn Worry, who's now the honorary CEO and works unbelievable 60 to 80 hours a week and still carries off a job as a consultant, set the organisation, must be 3 years ago now. And it was all about for coaches, by coaches. What can we do to look after coaches? What can we do to help coach development, ongoing coach development? Initially, with a heavy focus on professional coaches, and most people recognise FCA because one of the first things they did was to go and bat for Alan Stajic. And obviously that was around the time when he lost his job at the Matildas, which was horrific, the way that was all handled. And that was the beginning of it. Today, its role, we've just had recently had our AGM, and it's doing some fantastic things for coaches around the country. First and foremost, we've got a 40-40-20 gender split, which is so important for us as an organisation because, we're talking about having 50-50 participation of women and girls in football. There just aren't enough female coaches right now. So we're absolutely honoured to have a wonderful group of women that sit on our executive committee as well to help give us that insight into the whole of the game approach. So very, very proud of that. We've in the last year, we've helped coaches get $1.5 million in money that they are owed by clubs, because we all know that when things are not going right, one of the first things that happens is coaches lose their jobs. And the reality is it's still the case that in most instances, clubs don't want to honour, the contracts. So Football Coaches Australia can help Australian coaches through that process, through Fair Work, and point them in the direction of some really good legal people. So that's been fantastic because that's put money back in coaches' pockets. We've grown the membership, which is quite remarkable during the past couple of years when, we've not been able to get out on the park and coach the coaches and work with them. Because I think, Craig, that's for me, the single most important thing that the organisation can do for coaches is to help them get better, is to be able to sit round and talk and have conversations. Back when I did my licenses, and I know I'm a dinosaur, this was a long time ago, the coach educators, firstly, were all good coaches in their own right. They'd all coached teams at a senior level. Most of them had coached junior teams as well. The technical directors from around Australia used to come into one another's states and help deliver those courses. So there was a whole bunch of good, experienced coaches that were coaching. And it appeared to me, and I could be totally wrong, but it appeared to be that there was regular ongoing education for coaches. So that there were opportunities to come in and learn together. And I think in recent years, that's sort of gone by the by. All member feds will have an annual coaching conference. And I can only really talk to Victoria. That's an annual thing, and then there's some of the regional areas will run a few things from time to time. So that's one of the things that Football Coaches Australia has done, I think, really well, and that's provide ongoing coach education.
I think that's key. Just to jump in there, you said it earlier on. It's like passing your driving test. You're given your set of keys, and you're told to go off. There you go. You've got your license. Off you go. Do what you want. Exactly the same for football. You get your license, you go through a 6-month, 12-month program. You give you your badge. That's it. Yeah. You're then left to your own devices. So how do you continue to learn? How do you continue to develop? You're out there on your own. So you need need people around you to be able to educate you further after you've qualified. That's important, isn't it?
Absolutely. Craig, one of the joys, one of the best things that's happened as a result of COVID is that with coaches sitting around talking, what we worked out was that when you hear from coaches in the mean, it's normally when they get a job, when they've been sacked from a job, before a game, after a game, and occasionally someone asks them their opinion about another coach or another game. But unless you're Ange and you've done such a wonderful job as a coach, you get a book deal to write the story. We just don't know the story of Australian coaches. So one of the things we did was set up the Football Coaching Life, which is a podcast that was going to be weekly, but sort of hasn't quite worked that out. But I think we've got about 25 in the can, and I think we're up to episode 19 or 20. This is just about to release Stevie Corica. So some wonderful Australian men and women coaches. It's absolutely amazing how so many of them say, particularly the ones that rolled into coaching from a playing career, that they, firstly, when they took on the head coaching role, they didn't know what they didn't know. Because when you're a player or you're an assistant coach without all the responsibility that comes along with the main job, you just don't know what you don't know. So there's an incredible learning. They all say that they've got this, they're a brand new coach, they're enthusiastic, they've got a team and they sort of want to unleash themselves on the team and get everything out of their head. And to a man and a woman, they've all said to us, you know what, our coaching's changed over the journey. We understand now that it's not about us and getting everything out of our head. It's about the players. It's about helping each player get better and about helping them to get better collectively. And that for me, I think is one of the best things about the podcast, that you can sit down for an hour with some of Australia's best men and women coaches and hear about their journey, but get some of that wisdom back. So, it's been that bit has been an absolute blessing. And I think the best coaches in the world understand that there are times when you need to coach and there are times when you just need to shut up and let players play.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, we just saw a visual there of the Football Coaching Live podcast, which is available on the Football Coaches Australia website. Craig, I think you put that link in the comments section, footballcoachesauss.org.au. So we certainly implore all coaches and budding coaches to go there. But Gary, I guess one of the other good things or positive things of the whole COVID period that we've found ourselves is the emergence of more and more online coaches as well, coaching courses as well. In fact, courses in general. But so much so that I think that even Football Australia is now going down the path of exploring hybrid options of presenting C licence, B licence courses where there's going to be an online component plus the face-to-face. But Football Coaches Australia, you've got a whole heap of different coaches available, and it's not just to say elite coaches, but there's all sorts of short courses and longer courses available as well. Tell us what is on offer for coaches out there through the association.
One of the exciting partnerships that we've been able to come together on is with Ex Adventure. Mm-hmm. Mike Conway, was the marketing brains behind the Wiggles, has got this wonderful organisation that's about really thinking for people. He's a think coach at probably the heart of it all. Done some fantastic work with Sydney FC and Arnie with a couple of championships there. Has been working with the Socceroos, but he's got this virtual college. So Ex Adventure College is a whole program to cover leadership, resilience, culture, communication skills, mental agility, emotional intelligence, which is so important nowadays that we understand who people are, what makes them tick, how we work, how we tick, how we can work better with a group. And that is remarkable because you essentially can go into the offices of Football Coaches Australia University or Ex Adventure University and go in and do these courses. And the feedback from coaches right now has been absolutely fantastic. They're just enjoying it so much. They're getting so much out of it. And of course, they get their ongoing or CPD points, continuing professional development points. And they're just having these opportunities to learn in this new environment, which, for dinosaurs like me, doesn't make any sense. So in conjunction with this, this has been a wonderful thing. In addition to this, the more coaches, Australian coaches that go through it, Ex Adventure and FCA have got a deal now. We've got a partnership with Football Coaches India, the Indian Football Coaches Association, and there's lots of people in India that are a lot worse off than we are here in Australia. So there's courses being provided for Indian football coaches as well, which is a part of the whole relationship building thing for us. In that we're also working on an Asian Football Coaches Association, and I know that there's been some discussion about a World Coaches Association as well. So lots of exciting things going on there, Tonci. Sports session planner, a new relationship. So a lot of community coaches will be aware of that. It's a fantastic tool to be able to prepare sessions and take someone else's session and manipulate it to work with you, and it's available on all your devices. So there's some terrific things going on there in the electronic world. But one of the things that excites me as we come out of COVID is we can actually get out on the park with coaches and help, coaches, bring coaches together, because doing this, as we are here tonight, I know this is a more of an interview thing, but we had our first online, the Football Coaching Life is a podcast, albeit we record the video. We just haven't released those yet. But we did our first one of these last week with coaches. We had Graham Arnold, Tom Samani, Sarah West, and Melissa Barbieri on with Phil Moss, and for 90 minutes with these coaches talking about decision making. The good ones, the bad ones, how they go about them, what their thinking processes are. And in addition to that, after about an hour, Ralph Barber opened up the comments on Facebook, and coaches had an opportunity to talk to more experienced coaches. And I think, and Craig, I'll let me ask you the question on this. You've been a coach for a long time. You're a coach now at George Cross. How important is it for coaches to sit and talk about football? Because we don't have to agree on everything, but the opportunity to talk and think and discuss that. How important is that to you?
Yeah, it's huge, because it's a lonely job being a football coach, because you need good people around you. You need to be bounce things off. We're not always right. We'll 30% of our mistakes will be made on the field, but it's how we learn from that. And just being on the Zoom calls over the last couple of weeks with 50, 60 coaches from around Australia, all talking to one another, having comments on different things, and listening to experienced coaches who have been in the game for a long, long time. Ernie Merrick and I can't think who was on last week. Ernie Merrick and
Paul Ocon.
Paul Ocon, it was, yes,
Paul.
It was, yeah. Just to get their views on how they do things. You wouldn't have an opportunity to sit down with those guys on a regular basis to be able to find. But it's really important that coaches bounce off each other. They get ideas off one another, because that's the only way the game's going to evolve and get better, Gary. Is if we're all helping one another. That's the whole premise around Football Coaches Australia, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think one of the things that coaches do, they're teachers by nature. So, if you're a coach, you're a teacher, whether you like it or not. You're teaching people about the game. You might be teaching, other people. If you're a professional or semi-professional coach, you've got a team of other people that you're leading as well. So there's so much learning that goes on. My experience is most coaches are happy to share knowledge and wisdom if you're prepared to ask them the question. So we've been able to, thanks to the joys of Zoom. Who knew about Zoom 18 months ago? Hey, all should have had shares.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But we've now been able to give people access to talk more about football. And the thing that I love, and I think football can lead the way. I know you guys are all on Twitter as well. Sorry, Steve, I'm not sure whether you're on Twitter, but judging by your age, I'm sure you are. The thing on Twitter,
yeah, I think you follow me, Gary.
It absolutely intrigues me is that in the world of social media, it's a world of extremes. I'm wrong and you're right, or I'm right and you're wrong. But not only are you wrong, you're a bloody idiot. Yeah. And I just don't get that.
Yeah, there's no in between,
coaches,
is there?
No, it's just bizarre. So these conversations because at the end of the day, we can sit down and say, okay, my team's going to play a 3-5-2, or we're going to play 4-4-2 or 4-1-4, and this, that, and the other. And I think this and I think that. And that's only right for me as a coach if I can get my players whether they're male or female, boys or girls or whatever, to play that way in a way that's attractive and they can go out and enjoy it and hopefully win a game and some points. It might not work for you. It might not be right for you, but the opportunity to talk about it and for you to understand how I think or why I might be doing it, I think there's so many opportunities for us to learn from one another. Yeah. And the bit that I love is that there's not a coach in the world that went in at halftime losing 2-0 saying, hey, listen, that was fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing. We're innovative by nature. We're just like, how do we solve this? How do we fix this problem? So that's what I really love about it, that we're surrounded with an organisation of people that want to give back to the game and help leave the game in a little bit better place than they found it.
Yeah,
and that'll do me any day of the week.
Yeah. Gary, we're going to play a little short video clip before we let you go. And it's a video clip of the president of the Football Coaches Australia, Phil Moss. And he's talking about the Ex Venture training program. So
good on you, Tonci.
Here we go.
Hello there and welcome to the FCA College. My name is Phil Moss and I'm the President of Football Coaches Australia. I'm a very, very proud president. Football Coaches Australia was designed for coaches by coaches. And by that we mean a collective voice and an organisation that is absolutely passionate about the role in football that coaches play and how difficult a role it can be. The key to being successful is being open-minded and continuously learning along the way and sharpening those skills to get the best out of people ultimately. We were formed a couple of years ago and we are determined to take FCA to the world and bring the world to football coaches and in Australia. And you can be anywhere in the universe and tap into this unique online virtual learning opportunity that FCA College presents. There are so many nooks and crannies that you can go down to sharpen your skills and enhance your learning. It's up to you where you take it. I encourage everyone to put away distractions, put them to the side, really immerse yourself in this opportunity that our partnership with Ex Venture has provided and enjoy the ride.
There you go, gents. That was just a short snippet there from Phil Moss. And what I liked about that, it's a course that's designed by coaches for coaches. And it goes on what you just said, Gary. And look, we always talk about we need to create an industry, the football community, whether it's from a media point of view, an administrator's point of view, coaches, players, or whatever the case may be. We need to really create an industry, and I guess that's what some of the other codes around Australia have done so well. And, I guess it's now a case of full steam ahead. Let's look towards the future. And it is an exciting future indeed for football as an industry.
Without a doubt, Tonci, and that's absolutely right. It is business. It's big business at the very, very pointy end, but it's still business at the community clubs because they've still got to get some money in to make it work. They got the mums and dads and aunts and uncles that run the canteens, but the nets, they've still got to have nets, and the balls and the posts have got to be up, and someone's still got to be liaising with the council to try and get that drain fixed and get rid of that puddle or get new lights. There's no end to it. So it is an industry. It's a great industry as well, and that's why we love it.
Gary,
so just on the FCA, Gab, before we let you go, it is 8:30 on a Sunday evening. So once again, thanks for joining us. How can young coaches or coaches in general be part of the FCA project?
footballcoachesoz.org.au. Go to the website, click on become a member link, or just have a ferret around. They're on all the socials as well. I'm no good at tags and all of that stuff, but we're on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. Go there, find your way through, and at the end of the day, send me a message. We'll work out how you can become a member. It's a wonderful organisation, and there are obviously different memberships for professional coaches and community coaches. And that's, if I can add, I didn't mention community coaches. Well, I did say that the organisation started out very much with a professional bent. But we understand that most of the coaches in Australia are not professional. And so there's one of the huge things now is to make sure that we can develop more resources for community coaches as well. So that's part of the task as we move forward.
And there are webinars, Zoom conferences with element of community coaches in place as well. Not only,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant, fantastic, guys. Always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Good to see you're fighting fit as well after you had a bit of a health scare in recent years. But looks like, mate, you're as fit as a fiddle. That's what you certainly look like. That's for sure.
If I could run and make a comeback, Tonci.
You never know, mate. You never know. Good. Gary, once again, thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to having you on the show again in the not too distant future, maybe to talk about another element of Football Coaches Australia. But in the meantime, that podcast, catch up with Gary on a regular basis. We look forward to hearing some more great stuff coming out of Football Coaches Australia.
Thanks, Tonci, Craig, Steve. It's been a pleasure, and keep up the great work, mate. I love what you're doing for the game. You want it to get better, and at the end of the day, that's what we all want. So all power to you.
That's what it's all about.
Good on you, guys. Thanks very much, Gary.
Mate, thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.
Gary Cole, legend in more ways than one. Now, speaking of legends, Craig, on Tuesday, an absolute massive shout out to a very, very dear person of yours, a friend, your grandfather, who is turning 102. Old Granch, Owen Filer, mate, he's just incredible. There's a photo of him. Was that on his 101st birthday?
No, that was, and he not only is my granddad, Tonci, but he's a legend. Legends are talked about too easily nowadays. This guy was born, 102 years ago, and has gone through just about everything. And he's as fit as a fiddle. This was actually taken on Thursday when they did the interview for the national news in the UK. So that'll be aired, I think, tomorrow, Tuesday evening. So I'm sure that'll be all over social media by the time we get up on Wednesday morning.
Yeah. Now I think hopefully we might have a little bit of we might have some footage there. I'm just trying to bring up that footage if I can. Can't seem to find it. No. Nonetheless, we'll have to find it sooner or later. But he's turning 102 on Tuesday. Owen Filer, mate, that's an absolute inspiration to all of us, I think. I think I've managed to find it. Here we go. Let's play a little bit of a snippet of your grandfather, Owen Filer. Here we go.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
And remind everyone how old you are?
101.
101?
Yes.
Blimey, how does it feel?
I don't know how it happened. Isn't it lovely? I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. I can't. Well, nobody can.
For those who don't remember, we first met each other in January when you came up to me and told me you were 100. And I didn't believe you, did I? What year were you born?
1910-19. And I tell no lies.
You're 100 years old?
Yes.
Do you believe this man's 100 years old?
I know you don't. I know. You never will. I like being interviewed.
You like being on telly, do you?
It reminds me I'm still alive.
That was brilliant. I like being interviewed. It reminds me I'm still alive. What a legend. Happy birthday to Owen Filer.
He is a legend, Tonci, and he's. I'm just ashamed that we can't get over there to celebrate it with him. But no doubt I'll be talking to him on Tuesday or Tuesday evening our time. But yeah, happy birthday, Granch.
A happy birthday from all of us here at the Football Out West Show. Gents, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you to everyone who joined us. It has been an absolute pleasure having your company. To our guests, it was a massive show. Dare I say at this early stage, it was probably one of our biggest viewing audiences that we've had possibly ever. So a lot of information, a lot of entertainment. And I hope you as viewers got a lot out of tonight's show. Gents, we'll catch you guys again next Sunday for what promises to be probably just as I'm getting tired of saying it, an epic show. Every week it's an epic show, but tonight was a massive one.
Yep, very good. Looking forward to seeing the result of the Football Federation's decision tomorrow. I'm sure. Yeah, it's going to go. Social media will go nuts tomorrow. So maybe we might have another show tomorrow.
Who knows? Who knows? All right. Good night, folks. Thank you very much for being a part of tonight's show, and make sure to tune in again next Sunday at 7 p.m. for the Football Out West show. Good evening. Bye bye.